Can you walk? Let's see. Very good. Excellent. Swing down. All right, good job. All right, so after seeing that Nixon, this is like a sight for sore eyes. The Orient, I mean, if I've ever primed you guys to not say something nasty about this watch, I think you're fully primed. All right, well, I put this watch on about 2 days ago, and I don't really think a lot about this watch. I put it in its box, and it's out of sight, out of mind. But I thought, you know, how's the Orient doing? And I thought I would put it on just to get it going. This is not the type of watch you can wind up, and so you kind of have to wear it to get it going and to get the oils moving in there. And I do like this watch because it was my very first mechanical watch. It was my very first proper watch, I would say. And some of the things I liked about it were the color, and it's very sub-esque, but it's not a complete copy. It's got some elements of an Explorer, the 12.69 dial. It's got that beautiful navy color. I think you could call that a sunburst dial. And yeah, it's got some interesting elements that, you know, it's definitely influenced by a sub, but it's not like a straight up copy like a Device, for example. And the sword hands are kind of cool. That could be, I think some older subs had sword hands like that, or similar to that. I could be wrong there though. When you're choosing your first watch, you want to choose wisely, because it becomes your first watch. And in retrospect, I'm really glad that I didn't get something else. I'm glad I didn't get pulled in by Steinhardt or Squale. You know, Steinhardt's not bad, okay? They're pretty honest about what they are, and they're not crazy expensive. I think 500 USD is a little bit too much for that kind of watch. The Squales run close to 1,000. I think that's insanity. The dishonesty of Squale's history and the poaching of the history is what turns me off of that brand, and you don't get that with Steinhardt. But if I had gone that route, you know, it would still be a special watch to me because it would be my first mechanical watch, but it would be unfortunate that that my watch, you know, if it were a Squale, would be what I think is kind of a dishonest brand. In fact, I probably would, first or not, I probably would get rid of the watch. I wouldn't be able to stand the dishonesty of it, and sort of the fronting and the attempt to place itself in a historical context that presents itself bigger than it really is. I don't think Orient does that. And, you know, this is not an expensive watch to where I feel like I should flip it. If it was a $900 Squale, I'd probably be trying to recoup as much money of that $900 as I could. If it were a $500 Steinhardt, I might say the same. But when I wear this watch, I appreciate it. I mean, it really did serve me well, and I just checked the accuracy, and it's it looks like it's running about 4 or 5 seconds fast. So it's gotten more accurate, and perhaps the movement has settled a bit. I think it was something like 20 seconds fast when I was wearing it. It was a tad fast, but it still did me right, and I still appreciated it, and I still really liked it. And let me kind of wipe it off. It's a little bit smudgy there. And there we go. Look at that sunburst dial bursting. This very well could have pleased me till the end of my days, but when you like watches, it feels kind of strange to have an inexpensive watch on your wrist. It feels like a bit of a waste. You think, well, I really like watches, so I should have something nice. And you ask yourself if you really want to spend your life with such an expensive watch, or such a cheap watch, I mean. And that's really what confirmed that I wanted to get a sub, because I loved this watch, and it served me well, and it was serving me well, and I was really happy with it, but it just really wasn't special because anybody could have it for less than $200. So I didn't feel like a person that was starting to like watches as much as I was should have something so average, ordinary, obtainable. And that's kind of silly, but you know, everybody, especially when they like something, wants to think that they have something worth having and something special. And there are really two things that make a watch special: the price and the availability of it. And I don't know if you can get these watches anymore, possibly, but at the time you could, and they could be had for, like I said, less than $200. So what would have changed my opinion? Well, hypothetically speaking, if Orient had gone defunct and discontinued this, and at the same time it was, say, lauded by Hodinkee and a bunch of other watch channels as sort of the undiscovered gem, and there was a panic, all of a sudden I would have had a renewed appreciation of the watch. And I very likely may not have gone the route of a sub. I could have in the future, but that could have changed my opinion. All of a sudden it gets special, it gets rare, it's discontinued. People are paying $500 for this. And that is one of the things that can make a watch, I don't want to say more valuable, but have perceived value. And you guys saw it with that Alpinist. Great comments. You guys sort of made me sober up. That was a bit of insanity. That was a bit of insanity on my part, and I'm almost embarrassed that it happened. But thank God I didn't buy that watch, because you guys were absolutely right. Look, it's a great watch, that Alpinist, Seiko Alpinist. But I was totally thinking of it and considering it because it had been discontinued. And the question, would I have considered it if it hadn't been discontinued? If you could have bought it for the next 10 years? Hell no, I wouldn't have even considered it. I would have made a video about that. I wouldn't have thought about it. It was the fact that it was discontinued. And I sort of got caught up in this ridiculous fervor. They're selling, people, now I don't know if they're selling for 500 USD, but people have them priced for 500 USD. Now, there was a comment or two saying, well, I should get it and flip it. I don't think I could get 500 USD for it. Okay, I think that's what they're priced at, and I think there's some people probably paying that, but could I have made 50 bucks on it? Maybe. Yeah, I could probably price it at 400,000 yen or $400, but that's just, you know, more trouble than it's worth, I think. And so I was totally looking at it from the perspective of I gotta get it while I can, and that's not the right reason to get a watch. One of the commenters said, mentioned fear of missing out. Yes, yeah, that was fear of missing out. Fear of missing out on the deal while I could get it. Other people mentioned that the bezel of the Alpinist can be a little bit wobbly, and that's exactly the kind of thing that would drive me nuts. And what's ironic is I always say sub $200, or just go with your Grail over 5,000. Nothing in between. And there I was contemplating breaking my own rule. Insanity. Paying $350 for a watch I probably never would have worn. Crappy strap. Look, I don't want to beat up on the watch, but because I think it is a decent watch, and you could do a lot worse. But why on earth would I go that route at this point in my life? And that was a bit of insanity. So I'm really glad that you guys talked some sense into me. Saved me $350. We got off on a tangent, didn't we? Let's start talking about this watch again. So anyway, this Orient, as good a watch it was, as good a watch as it was, it just wasn't enough watch. It just wasn't special enough. And what makes a watch special is the price and the obtainability. And when you have a watch that's, I'll give the as an example, the GMT Master 2, well, that's a watch, obtainability, you can still get them, but the price has gone up. But something like a 5512 or a 5513 Rolex sub, well, not only is the price high, but they're hard to find. You just trying to find one in Tokyo is that's a challenge. And you've got the rarity and the price, and of course they're intertwined. But something that is not so rare, like a Humble Datejust, they're special because they're really expensive watches, and just not everybody can drop 4,000 on a watch. And that's really one of the reasons Rolex, I think, has gone up market, because that's really all that's left for them. They're not tool watches anymore. Technology has rendered the sub as a tool watch obsolete, and there are better options now. And getting fancy is all Rolex has as a status symbol. That's really all they've got. And so it's not surprising to see them embrace the bling and polish their middle links, and to embrace that image of the rich man's watch, and to sort of eschew that image of the tool watch. The people watching this, and myself, we like the tool watch, and we appreciate the tool watch, and we much rather go with a old steel sub probably than a new shiny two-tone blingy sub. But I think we're in the minority, and I think we're in the minority probably in all countries, but particularly a country like Russia or China or countries in the Middle East, where Rolexes sell not because of their history, but because of their current status and their current price tag. And again, it's all connected to their history and what they are or were as tool watches, but those times have passed, and I think the customers in in many of those locations, and many in Japan as well, most in Japan as well, are looking at the Rolex as strictly a status symbol. And so it's not surprising that Rolex has embraced it and gone that route. And yes, they keep a foot slightly on the path of their tool watch heritage for people like me and you. But largely speaking, they've gone fancy, and it's the way they had to do it. It's what they had to do. That Nixon, that abomination that you saw, probably keeps better time than most of the current Rolexes that are selling. And so Rolex has to make you justify you paying that crazy money for something that, functionally speaking, is perhaps inferior. And going the status symbol route is perhaps one of the only ways they can do that. They certainly really can't do it by calling their mechanical watches to watches anymore. Anybody who's bumped their mechanical watch and seen the accuracy just, you know, speed up or slow down or whatever, just seeing that effect on the accuracy, knows that, yeah, you can call them tool watches, but they just, in terms of a tool watch, they're just not as good as a G-Shock, for example. Back in the day, it was a different story. Back in the day, there were no G-Shocks. Back in the day, Steel Sports watch, Steel Sports Rolex probably was the best thing. It was the best thing. There was a time when the sub was the top tool watch, but those days are done, and so Rolex has now shifted, and it is a, you know, it's a professional model, yes, but it's more status than anything, which is fine. But yeah, the Orient, I do appreciate the Orient, and I'm kind of glad I didn't go for, you know, as much as I like Seiko, I'm glad I didn't go the SKX route, because that's sort of, a lot of people have SKXs, and this is, you know, this is a little bit different. And I do like Seikos, but I want to say that there is some sort of connection between Seiko and Orient, and I'm gonna have to Google it, but I think there is a connection between those two brands. So perhaps this is a under the radar Seiko in a sense. Anyway, take care, and let me know, what was your first proper watch? Hopefully nobody went Squale. If you went Steinhardt, could have been worse. I think the SKX route is a fantastic route. I mean, a Vostok is not a bad watch, although I don't know if you can trust a Rolex like, I'm sorry, was that a Freudian slip? I don't know if you can trust a Vostok like you can an Orient or a Seiko. So I just would, I have reservations recommending Vostok, because they're just so, it's so up in there what you're going to get. And, you know, I'd hate for somebody to really, you know, fuck themselves and miss meetings or something because they trusted a Vostok, whereas I think this and Seikos, I think you'll be okay. I don't think they're gonna have you missing any meetings. You might get your meetings early, but I don't think you're gonna get fired with the Orient. I think with Vostok you might get fired. You might miss a few meetings. But take care. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.